and we are in that awakened state here in Chicago on Thursday, the 10th of September. How are you, Barrett?
Well, I feel like I'm still awakening today. Some days it seems to take a little longer to get the engine going, and I think maybe that's a multi-leveled thing.
Oh, it absolutely is. You know, that big thud that we heard earlier in the day, around midnight, I think it was that temperature dropped from 90 to 60 in a 36-hour period. So whenever we have these big shifts, I think everybody just wants to go and chill out and sleep through the transition.
It's actually funny. I was talking to a friend of mine this week, and I was kind of feeling like I wanted just to curl up into a ball. And he's like, "No, no, it's not time to hibernate yet. You can hibernate once winter really gets here, but you got more to do." So I'm like the bear that wants to curl up into the cave, but it's not quite time yet.
Yes, we've got to gather a few more nuts before we can join the squirrels and bears in their winter repast.
Yeah.
And you know, this really is an amazing time of the year as we move into autumn, because this is the period of harvest, and that's you know, a reminder to us that the bounty always surrounds us, whether we're uh, recognizing it or not. The universe is always in that state of being supportive and providing for our every need if we are aligned with it, if we are in tune with it, if we're on that same page with the seasons as the rest of creation around us.
Hmm. Yeah, I like that idea too. We plant all the seeds, but then we do harvest the results. And I think a lot of times our spiritual practice feels a little like that. Sometimes we're doing the work, and there are times where we get the benefits right away. But other times we're sort of like planting these seeds, and it's not immediately apparent that they're gonna blossom, they're gonna grow. But if we're patient and we keep watering them gently, then they do bloom, and they come forward and bear the fruit that we've been wanting this whole time.
Well, and one of the things I find interesting, I've noticed it with myself, is that I'll go through a brief period of wandering around in the desert, and then all of a sudden I hit what I consider to be the R and R cycle, which is rapid response, where all of the things that you have been contemplating and praying around, they all hit at once. And it seems to me that the last 3 days in my little universe has been that kind of a cycle where all of a sudden I'm getting the lessons in, you know, are lined up one after another, boom, boom, boom. So there has been this very rapid cycle of aha moments one after another. And that, you know, is what makes all of this worth it, is that we do get the answers. It's just that we have to break down our resistance to hearing the answers in order to be able to receive them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think I just want to kick off by mentioning our event this weekend. You and I are doing a live event at Transformation in Alsip here in the Chicago area, and it's going to be on Sunday afternoon from 1 to 4, and we're calling it Step into the Light, a workshop about A Course in Miracles. So yeah, I just kind of want to invite everyone to that. You can find more details here on Facebook, or you can reach out to either of us directly. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to having this conversation. I think it sort of continues on this online conversation that we have, and we go in different directions, and we can explore things a little bit more because we have a little bit more time to go into things. So yeah, I'm just really looking forward to kind of exploring in that way with you on Sunday.
I think it's going to be a wonderful event, and yes, likewise, I am getting amped up for that. I know that part of the theme here is that we want to present information that helps people stay grounded who are just approaching the course, who haven't had a lot of experience with it. And yet at the same time, we're also going to be talking about ideas that are much more developed ideas that a person who's been working with a course for a few years could very easily participate with those ideas in discussion, etc. So it's kind of for everybody. If you're new to the course, this is a good time to get some support as you start to immerse yourself in it. And for those of us who have been around doing the course for a while, it's a good way to share experiences and share the validation of what is happening in the collective.
Exactly. Just like some of those things you find at the store, they say one size fits all. So that's what this event is. I have a little tag on it, one size fits all. But unlike the ones at the store, sometimes they really don't fit all. I think this event will. So
yes, and the one size fits all is usually pretty cheap too, and I think we're producing a pretty high class event here. So make sure you wear a top hat and have your spats on for the occasion. There will be penguins present, so black and white is a good dress code.
All right. Yes, your entertainment is assured.
Absolutely. Well, and we are now at that section in the Manual for Teachers where we're looking at the idea of the function of the teacher of God. And, one of the things, Barrett, that I find interesting is that when people come across enlightened ideas and they comprehend them to some level, their first instinct is to run out and convert. We got to go convert a bunch of people. We got to go proselytize and, have the Inquisition. We have to make sure that the false prophets are crucified and truth is defended. And for those of us working with A Course in Miracles, this is absolutely the worst reaction to that process of recognizing the truth and then wanting to share it, because we're really not supposed to go out there and be a boogeyman and drop the truth on people and say, accept this or you're going to continue to be damned forever and forever.
Yeah, I don't know if I was so heavy-handed, but I even did a little of that as I first encountered A Course. Shared it with people that maybe it wasn't really their thing to study or to go into, and out of this desire to be helpful. So I think, but I've also heard of people wanting to put A Course in Miracles books in every hotel room, like the Bible, and put up billboards about A Course in Miracles. So. There are interesting ideas floating around about the course, and I'm really with you on this one, Chris, that it doesn't really need to be something that we try to convert anyone around. It's the message is enough for those who are interested in it. Those who want to study the course will find it, and those who aren't drawn to it, that's fine too. Everyone will find their way back to God. And if this is your path, it's your path. And I would recommend, studying it and going as deeply into it as you can. If it's not your path, then that's fine too. The Course itself says that there are thousands of paths to God, and this is just but one of them. So I think when we remember that, it makes it a little easier for us to, if it feels right for us to talk about it with someone we know, that's great. And if we do that, I think it's always good just to kind of be aware of what is this for, as the Course says. What is this for? Is this about making you right, or is it just about being kind and helpful? And I think we're not always clear on our motivations, but I think the fact that we can and know that sometimes the ego takes this proselytizing thing and runs with it. It's helpful because it means that we can kind of catch ourselves if that's the direction that we're starting to go in.
Well, and one of the first inclinations that people have is, like you said, the idea of convincing everybody else that what you've got is the truth and the only truth available. And in reality, that means that you are somewhat insecure in your own groundedness in whatever the spiritual journey is that you're invested in. Because if you feel like you need to gain support of those around you to validate your investment in whatever journey you're working with, then that is a clear alarm bell for you to stop and evaluate and ask yourself, how much do I really believe this? And am I living it, or am I just reading it and then going around blithering about it? So it is very revealing to the individual as to what your attitude is in the moment about anything that you feel that you believe.
Yeah, and I think that actually this just dovetails so nicely in with the section that we're reading today on the function of the teacher of God, because it doesn't talk as explicitly about proselytizing, but it does say that basically the teacher of God's only function is to just extend love. This whole section is talking about sickness, and how does the teacher of God deal with sickness, and how can we in our right-mindedness deal with people who are struggling or feeling like they're going through some sort of illness. And it says here very clearly, the simple presence of a teacher of God is a reminder. His thoughts ask for the right to question what the patient has accepted as true. So he's not saying his words are asking for the right. It's just that presence that we bring to the situation. It can bring a different perspective in. At a recent course group I was at, we were talking about how to be with people who are actually like in the hospital or going through illness of some sort. And one of the things that ended up being shared was that we don't really need to have a specific thing. There's not a right way to be around people who are going through illness. But when we clear all of our fear and our judgment out of ourselves, then we can just simply be with people in whatever way is most helpful. And someone was sharing a story about being with a sibling of theirs who was very ill and dying, and all that he had to do, all that he felt called to do in that moment was just sit in silence with her, just to hold her hand. And that was his way that the love was expressed in that moment. And again, whatever way is right in each moment will reveal itself when we let go of our own thoughts, our own plans, our own ideas about how things should be.
Exactly. And we also have to hold the truth in our own consciousness that nobody here is capable of being ill or impoverished or in any way broken, because in truth we are all the divine expressions of God. And so you don't have to try to convince the other person of that. You don't have to voice that. But if within your own conviction you have an absolute acceptance of the truth about them, whether they accept it in that moment or not, it helps them on their journey at some point where they can access that belief and accept it for themselves. And I think that was how Jesus did when he went around the country healing. People, one of the things in one of the instances of the physical aspect of the miracle was that Jesus daubed mud on this blind man's eyes, and all of a sudden his sight was restored. And that, unfortunately, I think that little story perhaps misleads people The reality is that Jesus could so perfectly see the Christ within everyone he encountered that it brought it to the surface for that individual. And to the degree that they were receptive to the idea of being healed, they were in fact healed. They were restored to their own personal truth about who they actually are.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's amazing that that perspective of perfect innocence has that ability to reach out to that idea that's in all of us. And I think, again, as you were just saying, we're not always totally receptive to that idea. One of the things that seems to come up more and more in the different conversations I have with clients or other people is this struggling around the feeling of unworthiness. And what is unworthiness saying other than I'm not deserving of happiness, I'm not deserving of peace, I'm not deserving of health. As the Course defines it, health is just the lack of any belief in separation. So when we come to it from that perspective, then we start to see that, well, right, I really do want that. I really do want the peace. I really do want the joy. And as we continue to kind of claim that for ourselves, as we say over and over again, I want the peace of God, what happens is the parts of us that are not in alignment with that can start to reveal themselves. The parts of us that do, believe in our sinfulness, that do believe that we are unworthy of happiness. Again, these insane parts of us, they come forward. And what happens is we're able to more and more gently look these parts of us in the eye. We're able to see these false thoughts and to start to unplug our belief in them, because it's really only our belief in them that gives them any seeming power or control over our life or over our circumstances. So you could say that all of the Course in Miracles is really just asking us to question what we believe. Ultimately, love itself doesn't need belief. It doesn't need us to believe in it to be true. So what we're really doing is we're undoing the false beliefs. And as we keep questioning and turning them over to Spirit, we realize that the only thing we ever need is love, and everything else just becomes a false idol that we no longer value, and we're free to set aside.
Exactly. And I have a little post on Facebook this morning, my 10 o'clock posting of a Course thought, and it loops into everything we're discussing here perfectly also. It says, all this beauty will rise to bless your sight as you look upon the world with forgiving eyes. For forgiveness literally transforms vision and lets you see the real world reaching quietly and gently across chaos, removing all illusions that had twisted your perception and fixed it on the past. The smallest leaf becomes a thing of wonder, and a blade of grass a sign of God's perfection. And that really is the way it works. That forgiveness, not in the sense of, trying to counteract our swearing at somebody when they cut us off in traffic, but the true forgiveness, which is to go deeply within and to recognize that this material experience is a huge illusion. It is a dream. And that's what heals the dream on so many levels as we're beginning to awaken from that process of, belief in this world as being real. So it is important to be able to retreat and look within and to deeply forgive the world and to recognize that you and I, we collectively created this illusion, and we can allow it to be dissolved and we can allow truth to be restored.
I love that, and I think it ties right into the very end of this section we're talking about today, where it says, the advanced teachers of God recognize illusions can have no effect. The truth in their minds reaches out to the truth in the minds of their brothers, so that illusions are not reinforced. They are thus brought to truth. Truth is not brought to them. So are they dispelled, not by the will of another, but by the union of the one will with itself. And this is the function of God's teachers, to see no will as separate from their own, nor theirs as separate from God's.
Well, that's a perfect conclusion to this particular section of the course that we've been examining. And then, of course, we, our next discussion will be around, is healing certain? And so I'm sure that people want to join us for that idea as to the certainty of whether or not our actions are effective when we are trying to extend the love and heal the world around us.
Yep, but we'll leave that one for next week.
Yes, that one's a deep pool also, but one worth diving into.
Yeah. The short answer is yes, healing is certain. So just to resolve any anxiety someone out there might be feeling. But yeah, we'll be talking about that a lot more, and I'm sure we'll be weaving in ideas around healing this weekend too. So again, one more invitation to anyone who is in the area to come and be with us on Sunday. We're going to have a lot of fun.
And there's a good chance there's going to be an apple in your future if you show up, because I'm feeling compelled to find an orchard somewhere and pick a couple of apples and bring them to the event. So definitely want to show up and share A Course in Miracles and get your apple.
I love it. Sounds tasty and crunchy.
Yes. Well, Barrett, looking forward to seeing you on Sunday, and hopefully we'll have an exciting roundabout experience discussing the Course and sharing the love.
Definitely look forward to it too, Chris. So you have a good few days, and I'll see you on Sunday.
Great. Bye.
Bye.